Hey there guys. So today let's pick off from where we left last week. So first thing is this misalignment is bothering me. My OCD mind is kicking in. So let's fix that. So I think to fix that you'll just need to delete this. If I delete this, yeah, it fixes it. That's because here I've mentioned empty auto, which means basically taken the maximum amount of height at the top. And here I'm also mentioning space y4, which means take a space the child components with a given amount of pixels. So that's contradicting itself. So if I take that out, it aligns it perfectly. So today let's actually implement state management. So let me show you here what we are doing. So if I just okay, fine. So this is how our component is rendering out as of now. So we are making a get request from the backend, and the data coming here we are saving it in a set categories with set categories, and then we are rendering it out. So in the future we'll have a delete button where we will be deleting and the component should go off. So the problem right now is in React you can only send data from parent to child, and you cannot actually, if I'm calling, if I have a set categories here and if I'm deleting it, I want this category to go and the change should reflect here. That cannot be done because now I want the data. Let me move here. I want the data from here to here. It should make a change. If I click this category should be subtracted from here, as I've demonstrated here. Set categories. If I click this delete button, this category should be gone here, but that cannot be done in regular React. So in order to actually avoid that, what we can do is we can make a we can call the categories here. So let me just copy this. We can actually fetch the data in the app component, and using the context API, I can make it available to all these components. Then what I can do is I can simply call the set categories method and change it here. This will be much clearer when I actually show it to you. So let's begin. So if I go to my app component, so let's create the context in the parent component, which is the app tsx. So here let me call the context as, let's say we'll have to export this, we'll call it context and create context. Okay, yeah. We'll have to import from React. Okay, and then that's done. What we'll do is we'll create a state. So state, this is for saving the data coming from the backend. This is similar to how we did it here. This is the same thing. So I can just copy this actually and paste it here. I have to import useState. Then what you do is you provide a provider here. So context dot provider, put the add category in between, and you'll have to provide it a value as well. So value will be categories and set categories. Why am I getting an error here? Let me see. Okay, this is for now. Let me just put here any. Okay, so that error is gone now. So this, if I do this now, all the child components, if I put any other child components, this categories and set categories will be available to those components. So if I go to add category here, and let's just say I'll just comment this out. Now I can use those categories. So how do I use it? You can use it by simply destructuring it from one set categories, set categories. So I'm basically destructuring it from use context, and you'll have to provide the context, which is this thing, this name. You'll have to provide it here. So context, input it. So now I have it here. So this in JavaScript this would work, but now the problem is if I'm calling it categories and I press dot, I don't get that IntelliSense which TypeScript provides us. So now to get that IntelliSense, what I'll do is I'll go back here. I'll have to provide two things here, the type and the initial value. So for the type, let's call it category context type. So now let's create the type of this. So let's say type category context type. We'll have two values. One is categories and the other one will be set categories. Set categories. Okay. That is because we are passing in a state which has two things. So you'll have to provide it two things. So first thing is the categories. Categories basically will be of two types. Not two types, sorry. It will be either a type of T categories, T category, an array of this, or it will be null. Null because before we are actually making the call, it will be a null value. There won't be anything inside. And after we we get the data, it will be of this type, T category of an array type. Next is the set categories type. This will be of type, let me first type it out, dispatch react dot set state action, which will be of type T category array type. This you can get if you just hover over here. This is the state, this is the type definition for that. So if you just copy this out and paste it here, you'll get the type here. So now that is done, we'll have to provide it the initial value. So for the initial value, let's call it let's say I category context state. Let's make this cap too. Okay. So now let's provide the initial type. Type I category context state. We'll have two things, which is categories, which will be initially null, and set categories will have a function. I think I misspelled it. I'll just copy this out. Paste it here. Let's see where I made mistake. I category. Okay, this is not the type, it is of constant type, because this is not a type definition, this is a value. So initially the value will be null and set categories will have a function in it. So that is why it's a constant, not a type. Type definition goes here. So once that is done, if I go back here and I'm destructuring it. So now if I go here and call it categories dot map category, Now if I press dot, I should get the IntelliSense. Yeah, now I'm getting it. So that's done. So now what we'll do is, as of now, it's empty here. Nothing is there in set categories. We'll actually make the call here. We'll take this, cut this out, and paste it here. You'll have to import all this. Import the base URL, import the set categories also. Oh no, I think I misspelled this somewhere. Cannot find name set category. Did you mean res categories? Okay, this error is basically because I made a very stupid mistake. It should be inside the app. I'll just, okay, now it should work. Yeah, now it's still working. If I save this, I'll save this also, everything still works. If I refresh it, it still works here. So now let's check whether it's working. So let's say test, and I click add category. If I refresh the page, it comes up here. So now let's optimistically render the data. So in order to do that, what I'll do is set the categories. I'll spread out the array. This will not be a null type, and I'll insert the new category, and I'll also set the category name to empty string. So basically what we're doing now is we are making a UI change before the server responds. So optimistic rendering is a technique where we make changes to the UI before the server responds, because we're sure that the data will come in. So now if I click, say I type test2 and I click add category, it comes up here and clears the category name as well. Okay, so since that's done, let's start by cleaning up this function. So whenever we are developing an application, we actually have to abstract all this logic from the client side. So in order to do that, what I can do is, under the source directory, let me create a new folder called API, and I'll call a file called, say this is adding a category, so I'll call it add category .tsx. No, not tsx, it's TypeScript. Okay, then I'll export it. I'll first and call it add category. So this will be an async function, and okay, I guess I'll copy this out now. I'll copy all this out, and I'll be async function, and I'll paste it here. We'll have to import this. It's all working fine, and category should come in here. So category will be a string type. Okay, and we'll also have to return this. Return new category. This will be of type, the category which will be coming in will be of type category. So now, okay, it's of type T category. You could also give it a return type of the function if you want to be pedantic about it. we could do something like promise. If I go here, it's of a, one second, let me, okay, this is, it's not completely shown. This will give me a promise of a generic type. So I can go here, promise, and I can give it a type of T category. You don't have to do this, but if you want to be pedantic about it, you could do it. I save that, and I just have to call it now here. So I could basically, let's say, let me delete all this, call it new category, and I can just call that function now. Get, no, it was add category. I'll also have to pass in a value for it, which is category. Okay, so I'm getting this error. So okay, it's of promise type. Okay, so you'll have to basically await this. With that, it's no errors. So since we gave it a promise here, like we mentioned the type here, I was getting the error here. So that actually saved me, because if I wouldn't have given it a type here, that error wouldn't have shown here, and it basically would have messed up the code. So now let's try whether it's still working. So let's say test 3, click, and it still works. So now let's clear this also. We are getting the categories here. So let's go to API, create a new file, get categories.ts. We'll copy this. Let's say which category we're calling it. Okay, this part we'll have to copy. And we'll paste it here. Before pasting, let me export const get categories async. I can paste it here. I'll have to import this. Okay, and what else? I could again give it a promise type. So I'll return this. Return, what do I call it here? Will be of type rest categories. So rest categories, let's just call it. This will give me a promise of T category, which is an array type. I save that, and okay, let me just delete that out. Call that function get categories, and I'll call it rest categories here. Again, I'll have to await it. If I hover here, it's a promise type. So if it's a promise type, you'll have to await it. And if I save, nothing is broken, everything works. So we've cleaned up our function as well. Now let's go and create a functionality for the deleting category. So let's head over back here. So now you can see it's starting to get messy here. So now I'll be creating another route for deleting the category. So in order to avoid that, let's create another folder called roots. So roots, and I'll save that roots. I'll save a file called category roots. So this is where all the roots for the category will be going here. So if I'll just import express from express. Now I can just save this. Okay, if I head back here, let me just copy this out. Copy this, paste it here, and bring this up. So we'll have to import the phone book model. I think it's better just to do it here. Import this, and I'll have to import another thing called now I don't have to import another thing. I have to bring in category roots from ROUTES from express dot router. So now I can just copy this and paste it here. We'll have to import this as well, the type definitions for request and response. Okay, so now all the errors are gone. So now to actually use these roots, head over here, not here. Let me actually, okay, that's fine. Let's go to index.ts and I'll go here and I'll app.use category and I'll import that roots. So what I call it? I called it categories roots. Okay. They export it. Have to export it also. Export category roots. Copy this, paste it here, export it here. So now the base becomes category. So if I'll just save everything. Okay, so the base is category. So if I go inside this, it will be /category/. So anything before this will be this thing here, /category/. So now let us create a root for deleting the category. So for that I'll just copy this out. It will be the same, but this time the method will be delete. It will be in the /contact/path, and I'll have to destructure the ID from the client. The client will be sending an ID for what category I want to delete, so that will be sent through the body. I'll destructure that out and I'll delete the category. So this part also I don't need. So if I const, I call it deleted category and await phone book model dot find by ID and delete. Should be a function for that. Okay, and I give it the category ID, and the response will be deleted category. Okay, so if I save that, now let's check whether this endpoint works. So for that, again, Thunderbolt client, go here. Okay, the body I'll have to send the ID. So let's get the ID. Let's go to Mongo Atla. Just take a random ID from the data. I take this. This time the body I'll be sending an ID. Okay, and what was it called again? It's called category ID. If I paste it here and I change the method to delete, click. Okay, I got an error. Let's see what the error has 404 not found. Okay, it's 5001 and it's under slash category. As you can see here, if I go here, slash category slash, so you'll have to go to that route, slash category slash, and I send it. Okay, I got the data here. If I go back to my client, and this I think it was hello, so if I refresh this, okay, something broke. Let me check. JSON.parse line JSON.data. So I think the fetch from the client should be, I made a mistake there, so let's see. Okay, yeah, so this should be slash category, and if I save that, yeah, everything works. So maybe let me check the add category as well. This will be slash add category, not add category, category. Oh, it's not be inside, it should be out. Slash category. Let me save that. Okay, hello is gone. Refresh it. Let's delete another one. Let's say this time 6.3, this one. I copy that. I'll head over to Thunderbolt client. This time I'll go here, change the ID, send. Okay, I'm getting, should be delete, send. I got this, and if one should be gone from here. Okay, it's gone. So everything works. Let me try adding one. Test 3. Okay, that also works. So now again, let's head over to the client and put in the delete functionality. So let's first go open editors and let's just remove that. Go back. Let's create a API route for deleting it. So delete category.ts. So let's call it export const delete category async function. Okay, and this will also be a promise of type t category. Okay, the error is because you have to return something which will be returning soon. So const res await fetch. You call in the base URL. So base URL slash category and inside the body we'll have to mention the method which is delete, and in the body we'll have to give it the ID, so we'll have to stringify the body first. Stringify, we have a category ID and headers content type application JSON. Okay, this will come from here. So category ID, it will be a string type, string. See, promise t category. Let me first take this out. Oh, this should not be in curly braces. Okay, thank you actually. Promise of t category. and I'll have to return it. So the response which will come, the response which will be coming from here, we'll put it in deleted category. It will be of type T category. I'll have to await res dot JSON and I'll return it. Deleted category. I misspelled return. Okay, now all errors gone. Now let's go to, I think the component was category here. So here we'll have to create a new function for it. So on click handle delete category. We can actually copy this, it might be the same. Yeah, just go here, copy it, paste it here. Then we'll have to import form event. So let's import the type for form event. This will be of, we'll be calling delete category, and we'll have to pass in category ID, and the return type will be deleted. We don't need this also. Deleted. Okay. So there's an error. Let's see what the error is. Handle delete. I cannot. Did you mean delete category? Let's see. Okay, that's because I didn't name it correctly. Handle delete category. Some error. That's because of the type. Now if I save everything still works. Let's try. Click. Let me open my DevTools. Network. Reload. If I click delete, I got a delete here. Request. This category ID was sent. Response. This is my response. Now let me refresh this, and that's gone. So now again, let's optimistically render it. So in order to optimistically render it out, we'll have to get the categories. So for that, again, destructure it from the context. We use context, give it the context. What happened? Okay, equal to, import this. Okay, now we have all of our categories here. So now let's do something. Let me first type it out, then I'll explain what I'm doing. Filter it. Filter it and curly dot ID should not be equal to delete category dot ID. Okay, this should be as T category, again array type. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is filter is an inbuilt JavaScript function that filters out an array based on the condition you provide. So if the condition is true, it returns the value, else it excludes it. So here I'm saying if category ID is not equal to deleted category ID, this condition gives me false. So that particular category is removed from the categories which I'm getting. So let's test this out. So if I delete one of the category, it goes away. So again, we've optimistically rendered it. So next what we'll do is we'll create individual category pages for each of these categories. So if I click right now view, it gives me this 404 not a found error. That's because this page doesn't exist yet. So let's create that page. So to create, let's head over back to, I think it was main.tsx. Yeah, I'll copy this out, I'll paste it here, I'll call it category slash, I'll give a params as well, category ID, and the component which I want to render out is contact. So new file, contact.tsx, I'll give rafc, save that, I'll save, okay, I'll have to call it here, contact, save that. Okay, now I'm getting that page. So params is basically this, the anything which you pass after the category. So if I say, if I give 1, it gives me this page. So this is params. Okay, so now let's go to a server and we'll create a endpoint. Let me go back again, to display the information of each of these categories. So for that, let's create an endpoint. Back to our category roots, let's say it will be a get. Let's copy this and I'll paste it here. So this time to access, I'll give it params here, category ID. So this request object has a special function to get the params, to get this variable. So in order to get that, I'll just destructure category ID. I'll take that from ric.params. So I get with this function I can get the ID whatever I've passed now. So say view, I can get this value. You could also optionally go like category ID, you could do that as well, and if you don't want to destructure, but I'll destructure it just because I like it this way. Okay, so I've gotten the category ID. So with that, we'll find it from the database. So in order to do that, let's go category, I'll have to await it, call the phone book model dot find by ID, and I'll pass in that value, category ID. Okay, so I've got no errors, we don't need this line, and let's give it JSON of category. So let's try this out now. I'll copy this ID and I'll go to Thunderbolt client. Okay, paste it here and I'll get the request. Let's see whether I get it. Okay, so I'm getting it, hello from client. That is one of the categories. So now let's go back to our client. Not here, sorry, client side. Let's go to the client. I'll delete all this, close all that. So contact here, let's start rendering out the data here. So in order to get the data, let's create an endpoint for that. So I'll just copy this and just call it get category .ts. Okay, once this one. So then let's rename this to category, and it will get a category ID, which will be a string, and this will be not an array type, it will be single value. Okay, so let's call this category res await fetch base URL category slash with the params which will be passing, which is category ID. Okay, now this will call as category, which will be of type T category, and this is because of this, and I'll return that. So with that, we have the function for connecting it to our endpoint. Then let's go back to contact and let's use effect to get that data. So use effect, we can actually copy this from here since it's the same. Where was it? I think it's app. Okay, just copy this part out, go back here and paste it. So fetch category async, let's call this category get category, and we'll have to pass in an ID which will get from, let's say we get it from React router. So import from React router DOM, we use params hook for that. So now const category ID structure it from use params. So with that, I have the category ID. I'll pass it here, category ID, and why is this error? Okay, we hit we put an exclamatory mark saying that it cannot be null. Then we set the for this we'll have to create a state. So for that, use state, I'll call it category, and I'll import it. Also mention the type T category. Now I can set the category, set category to category. So with that, let's check whether we are getting the data. So let's console log it out, category, and open my DevTools console. I'm getting the data from here. So let's start building out the UI. So I'll go here, let's start building div. It will have a h1 category of titles. For now I'll just title, category title, and the same level we'll have inputs for changing the title. So here I'll have a div. Inside that I'll have an input. I'll also have a button. This is something called an emmet. So it's like you can use short forms to create tags. Okay, so I've created that. Now let's start styling it. So class name, say max width of 4XL, and to center it we'll have mx auto, auto mx auto. It'll be flex call, and we'll also justify center. That it's centered. I think I'll make it half and half so that you can see it better. Okay, much better. So then let's style in this one, this div. Let's have a border, padding of 2, text should be white, margin top of 10, flex call, and space y of 2. So all the child components will have in the y-axis a space of a certain pixel. Okay, it's come up here, good. Then let's style this out. So class name, font bold, text 2XL. For the size we'll capitalize it, and let's center it out, text center. Okay, save it, good. Next let's go here and class name flex item center, and save that. Inside the input let's make a placeholder and change title. Okay, let's give a class name. Okay, so since we'll be repeating the same styles over and over again for the various inputs, let's make I'll show you, just 1 second. This is not a Tailwind thing. We'll create a style, like we'll create a common style for all the inputs. So let's go for the button, and let's say change title, save that. Class name, let's call it btn. Again, this is not a Tailwind utility class, we'll be creating this now. So let's head over to index.css here. So, and we'll say something like at layer components. Now you can just treat it as a regular CSS. Dot inputs at apply. Okay, now padding of 2, bg transparent. If I save that, it reflects here, there. Outline none. So okay, I'll show you why that is. So right now, if I have this blue outline, right? So I don't want that. So in order to take that out, you just give it a class outline none. Yeah. Text yellow. So whenever it types something, it is of yellow color. Let's say a shade of 400. I want it to be rounded, and margin in the x-axis for 3. Why say on? Okay, cool. Now I save that. Now if I type, it's of the yellow color, no outlines. Actually, we don't need rounded. We are not using border. So save that. Next, let's create a class for the button. So btn. Again, the same, at apply, padding of 2, rounded should be large, bg yellow, 500, text black, and and if it's disabled, I want it to be gray of 500. Yeah, so everything is working now. I mean, the UI is done for this. Let's go back here. Let's actually render out the title now. So as you can see here, I'm setting the state as category, so all the data is in here. So let's say, let's render it out, category dot category. Okay, sorry. this is the button, not the title. Change title, save that. This is what I wanted to change. So category dot category. Now hello from client. Now if I go back and go say Django. Now let's create an endpoint for updating the heading. So let's go back to category roots. Now let's create an endpoint for updating it. So category roots. So this time, since we are making update, we'll have to use put. So put, we'll call it, okay, params of category ID, and we basically can copy this out now. Just copy this out and paste it here. We'll have to make some slight changes. So async request, get the params, then since we are updating it, we'll call it updated category, await phone book, find by ID, and update. So and not delete, sorry, update. Okay, next what we do is okay, so we'll be getting the title. Since we have to change the title, we'll have to send it from the client through the backend through the body. So let's say title rec dot body. So once after I find it by ID, let's say the ID is category ID and the category will be title. Okay, I'm getting, okay, this should not be an object. No, that's not the case. Okay, it's because of the, okay, and then we'll give a status of 200, meaning that it was successful, and also a JSON response of updated category. And let's try this out. Let's go to Thunderbolt client again. Here this ID is what, okay, let's change this. So then let's make a put request, and in the body, so category ID I'll have to send. I'll also have to send a title. Let's say this is hello from client, so let's say athletes, and let me, now if I send it, okay, so it was successful. Okay, this is because if I go back here, so Mongoose has this special, I think it made a recent change. So in order to get the response, like the new response, you have to pass it something, an object called new true. So if I do this, and now I type athletes and send it again. It works. Again, I'll change it to say doctors, and now it's working. So we've created the endpoint for that. So now let's again go back to clients. No, yeah, to the client side. We'll create a new one, new category. So let's say, no, sorry, new endpoint. So copy this, call it update category.ts. Hit enter. I'll have to make changes. Let's actually call it update title. So for category, let's call it update title. Now let's change this to update title. So this will basically have a category ID, and it should also, a title should come in. So title string. Okay. This updated title res, the base the base URL will be base URL category and the params. So the category ID, category dot, not dot, sorry, it's ID. The method will be put, will be sending a title. This will remain the same, and this will call as new title, which is basically a category, and I have to get the JSON of this. We'll send this back. So we've created a function. Let's go back here. Where was it? Contacts. So let's create a state for that. So use state, and let's call it title. It'll be your string. Save that, and let's go here now. The value will be title on change. Okay, on change, track the value. So set title to e.target dot value. So I'm tracking it. Then on click, handle update title. There's an error because we haven't created it. So let's go create that function. I'll copy this. I'll create it. I'll create it here. So const the title we need an event here, which will be react dot form event. Now let's say if there is no category ID, then we'll return alert no such category. Then let's actually call the function update title. We'll have to pass two things, which is title, and we'll also have to pass in the ID. There's an error because there should be an async function. Okay, and then let's set the category to the new title. set, and we'll clean up. We'll set the input value to an empty string. Now let's test this out. So let's say doctors. I hit change, it changes. So with this we've completed all the roots for the category roots. So with this we've completed all the roots for the category. So next week we'll do the last portion of this series, which is the cards.